Okay, let's dive right into this. If you've been watching the news, scrolling through your feed, or honestly, just talking to folks at work lately, you've probably felt it. It's that creeping, sinking sensation that technology is suddenly moving at absolute light speed, and somehow you're expected to just inherently know how to keep up with it all. And look, it can feel incredibly overwhelming, right? Especially if you're in the middle of your career, looking toward those later stages of your professional life, or hey, even if you're already retired. There's this unspoken myth floating around out there that the whole artificial intelligence revolution, it's just for the fresh graduates, the tech natives, the 20-somethings coding away in their garages. But today, in this explainer, we are going to completely shatter that myth. We're going to look at the very real challenge of keeping up in the AI era. And way more importantly, the empowering truth that your age absolutely does not disqualify you from the future.
Never too old to learn, never too old to start. I want you to really let that sink in for a second. In our hyper-fast-paced world, it is so easy to look at the mountain of new AI tools out there and feel like, well, the train's already left the station. But this isn't just some feel-good motivational poster. This is a foundational reality of the modern economy. Your years of experience, your deep industry knowledge, all those problem-solving skills you've built up over decades, those do not magically expire just because a new algorithm was released. In fact, those seasoned skills are exactly what the AI era desperately needs right now. You are literally never too old to learn how to leverage these new tools, and you are for sure never too old to start a completely new chapter.
And just look at the proof we have right here. The narrative is already shifting in a huge way. Thousands upon thousands of people are learning AI after retirement, and they aren't just dipping their toes in either. They're actively learning and engaging with artificial intelligence well into their post-career years. They're building new projects, they're consulting, and they're proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that the human brain's capacity for adaptation, it doesn't come with an expiration date. When we really look at what's happening, it becomes incredibly clear. The only real barrier to entry in the AI space isn't your age and it isn't your background. The only actual barrier is stagnation.
Section 1. The AI speed limit. To really understand why it feels like everyone is suddenly falling behind, we have to acknowledge a stark mathematical reality. The speed of AI adoption is fundamentally outpacing human adaptation. We are literally trying to process industrial revolution levels of change, but doing it in a matter of months rather than decades. So the crucial point is this concept right here: assimilation debt. I love this term because it perfectly captures that abstract, anxious feeling of falling behind and turns it into a tangible, systemic thing we can talk about. Assimilation debt is the widening gap caused when the speed of AI adoption outpaces a person's ability to adapt. Think of it exactly like financial debt, but for your skill set. Every single month that new AI capabilities roll into the workplace and you aren't learning them, that gap widens. Your debt grows. And just like credit card debt, it can feel totally paralyzing if you don't have a structured plan to pay it down.
Section 2. The disappearing entry level.
Now, how does this assimilation debt actually manifest in the real world? Well, it is actively reshaping the job market as we speak. And this brilliantly illustrates the widening gap as AI reshapes absolutely every industry out there. Historically, think about it. If you wanted to pivot into a new field or start over, you looked for an entry-level job, right? It was the traditional on-ramp. You'd get hired for your potential, and the company would train you up. But AI is automating those exact routine entry-level tasks right now. Tech firms, big corporations, they're quietly reducing and outright eliminating the very roles that people used to depend on to get their foot in the door. The on-ramps are disappearing.
Let's break down this crisis point by point so we really understand the landscape we're dealing with. First, as we just saw, there are fewer entry-level jobs. That traditional safety net, it's just gone. Second, skills are changing incredibly fast. What was a cutting-edge job requirement 6 months ago might be fully automated today. And third, and this is perhaps the most critical part for mid to late career professionals, there is no clear roadmap. Without those traditional entry-level roles acting as stepping stones, late starters are just left stranded. You know you need to adapt, you know you need to cross the gap, but the bridge is completely washed out. And most job seekers have absolutely no structured way to identify where they even stand or what they should do next.
Because of these massive shifts, we just have to acknowledge a simple, sobering fact. The urgency is real. If you have been feeling anxious about your career trajectory or maybe your post-retirement relevance, that anxiety is entirely valid. The threat to traditional career paths isn't some distant future prediction anymore. It is an active, urgent wake-up call happening today. But, and this is a very big but, we are not going to stay in this state of anxiety. Recognizing the urgency is just the first step toward taking your control back.
Section 3, Reinvention as Survival.
Which brings us to a major shift in our mindset. We're moving from agitation to empowerment here, viewing this era not as some terrible threat, but as an opportunity for reinvention as survival. Lifelong reinvention isn't just an inspiring corporate buzzword anymore, it is literally the essential survival mechanism for the modern economy. Let's contrast the old mindset with our new reality for a second. Under the traditional learning model, you went to school, you learned a specific trade or got a degree, you got a job, and you rode those exact same skills all the way to a gold watch and a pension. Learning was a one-time event that happened early in life. Actually, scratch that. It wasn't a one-time event, but it definitely had an endpoint. But AI-era learning? It completely flips that script. Continuous learning is no longer an optional extra or something you do just for fun on the weekends. It is fundamentally how you stay relevant. In the AI era, your value isn't based on what you already memorized. Your value is purely based on how quickly you can learn the next necessary thing.
And that leads us to this incredibly powerful realization. Technology will not slow down for anyone, but anyone can choose to keep up. We spend so much time worrying about the things we cannot control, right? The release of the next big language model, the automation of certain industries, the sheer dizzying speed of innovation. We cannot control the speed of technology, but we completely, 100% control our own personal choice to adapt to it. You hold the agency here. You have the power to decide right now that you will not be left behind.
Section 4. Navigating what comes next. So, how do we actually do that? How do we pay down that assimilation debt and cross this widening gap? Well, the good news is we don't need to get bogged down in the complex, highly technical mechanics of AI coding today. What we need is a structured roadmap to assess where your skills are right now, figure out what the market needs, and close that gap. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it distills this entire philosophy into 3 simple words: learn, adapt, move forward. This perfectly encapsulates the gap-to-skill ethos. It's not about becoming a computer scientist overnight. It's about empowering you to navigate the future by continuously updating your toolkit. You learn the new landscape, you adapt your existing vast experience to fit these new tools, and you move forward into your next career phase with absolute confidence rather than fear. Gap-to-Skill provides that missing roadmap we talked about earlier, giving you the exact structured guidance you need to bridge your own personal skills gap.
I want to bring us back to one final, deeply provocative quote from our source material today. The future doesn't care how old you are. It cares whether you can adapt. I mean, let's shatter those preconceived notions right now. The job market isn't looking at your birth year anymore. It's looking at your capability. The AI systems certainly don't care how old you are. The only metric of success in this new era is adaptability. It's a challenge, yes, for sure, but it is an incredibly liberating one, because it means the playing field is completely leveled for anyone who is willing to put in the effort to learn.
The assimilation debt is real, and the disappearing entry level is a massive challenge, but you absolutely do not have to navigate it alone. The solution exists. You can bridge your own skill gap and start your reinvention today by visiting gaptoskill.com. They provide the step-by-step guidance necessary to ensure you stay relevant through lifelong learning. The technology will not slow down, and the future is arriving faster than ever. So, the only question left to answer is, what step will you take today to meet it? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.